My name is James Ivie. I'm retired, lifelong resident of Eden. I currently work at the volunteer with the museum and helping keeping it open. Well, we are part of the geologic movement that called the breakup of Pangea. A huge crack in the ground, a chasm, a rift started, a rift valley, that then it quit and it changed to some other spot. But this rift valley filled with water, creating a large lake. On the shores of that lake, there were dinosaur tracks found, still can find them. And the swampy areas around it yielded the formation of coals, seams of coal. I've actually seen the seam that exists under the old Licksville High School. As you walk down a hill, and we were leaving school and heading back home, I would walk down that hill and I could see it in the winter when there was no vegetation around, a dark line across the hillside there.
And that comes from what? It comes from where the earth broke up?
From the swampy areas that would have been alongside the edges of the lake. The vegetation would get into the swamp. Coal tends to form from stuff that falls into water. Yeah, west of here, the Sartown Mountains are geologically the same as the Atlas Mountains in Northwest Africa, which to the geology people say that means they had to come from the same origin. And so the split of Pangea involved these mountains left on this side of the split, those mountains left on the right side of the split. The rest of it has been washed away or buried under the ocean. Sara Indians was the name of the local area. They were a group of Indians with similar languages to the Catawba Indians. So they were some sort of root connection to the Catawba. But they were the Sara Indians, and their village is called Sartown.
And where was Sartown?
The Sartown location, actual village location, was across south of the river, east of the Highway 14 bridge on Dan River. If you look down that river, that straight shot, the village would be off to the right. I've never been to the actual village location because it's private property, but is up there away. That side of the river is not so flat, so the Indians would be up higher and wouldn't be involved with flooding. That's my take on the situation. Of course, they populated the area. They were hunter-fishermen. They made fish dams in the river, which have been found up here between here and Madison in particular. I've seen one of those. They, when I was a Boy Scout, Cub Scout, we were taken to all the local points of interest, and one of the places they carried us was a mound over near Sartown Estates, just on the other side of the river, down in the flat bottom area that we were told that was a burial mound. I've since been told no, it wasn't, but it is still an abnormality in the area. So they either piled the dirt up or something really strange happened right there.
Folks.
Well, the Indians were decimated by the diseases brought by the first English explorers, settlers that moved into the area. They had no resistance to smallpox. I've read historically that over 90% of the Indians who were on the North American continent had died before the Civil War. Well, they were really wiped out. When Byrd came through with his survey in 1728, by then the Indians here were gone. There was enough people that moved into the area, one or two, it didn't take many. You know, the tribe gets one disease, everybody in the tribe's gonna get it. And so the tribe left here and moved westward apparently to join up with the Catawba Indians on the other side of Winston-Salem in the Catawba River Valley. William Byrd was a planter with a large plantation outside of Williamsburg, Virginia. And the Crown, Queen Anne's advisors, decided that they wanted to take back some of the lands they'd given away earlier or something. I'm not sure why, but they decided to survey the North Carolina-Virginia border. And so he traveled the entire survey line from the coast. They started out at the ocean, literally, and with the poles went all the way across to this area and beyond into Stokes County and got up into the mountains before they quit. He kept a journal of the survey. And so every night he would write what they did and what they saw. And when he got to the area where what we call the meadow, where the mall used to be, the mall, that flat area in there towards Draper, he said it was the prettiest part of the whole border. That land along here was the best land he'd seen. They just loved it. They wanted to go to the next top of the next little rise to see what was beyond it. And so he kept that memory, and when he ended up getting time to get paid, whether he got paid money and came back and bought the land or got paid in land is probably debatable, maybe. I'm not sure of the truth. But he ended up owning 26,000 acres of land in the area that he called his Land of Eden, William Byrd's Land of Eden, because it was so pretty and reminded him the best of the Bible sense of Eden. His son was a gentleman and wanted to be treated like and live like a gentleman. He ran out of money and he decided he had to sell land. And somehow or another he got up with some speculators in Antigua, Simon and Francis Farley, and they purchased the land from him, all 26,000 acres. They tried to encourage people to come in and invest and set land, sell them, but there were so many people had already came into the area, just set up camp and started farming, squatting on the land. And so they couldn't get them out, didn't know how to get them out. There was no, the sheriff, I don't know whether there was even a sheriff then. This was when we were part of Guilford County, and before that we were part of Salisbury and Rowan County. So, we were far away from any county seat for most of that time, and there wasn't anybody to go roost them out. So they just let it go. Finally, after 1750, maybe after the Civil Revolutionary War, one of the Farley heirs went to William and Mary, met one of the Byrd descendants, a girl, married her, and they decided to come farm the land. Again, Byrd, Farley, unified again. We'll go farm that land that was granddaddy's or whoever. And they came and set up a plantation called Sauratown. Brought in 100 slaves from Antigua and set up shop. In the 1790 census, the original census of the country, the plantation is listed, but there's an overseer name and the slaves, but no Farleys. So they weren't here very long. And so after that, they decided, well, what do we got all this land we got to do? Patrick Henry had moved to north of the border. He was living up in Leatherwood, Virginia. He was a land speculator, and he came down and bought what he thought the entire 26,000 acre tract was and owned it all. So in 1795, when the city of Leakesville was being laid out, all the land east of here, the original plat, was land owned by Patrick Henry. But Patrick Henry, when he died in 1798-9, he left a will and gave his 26,000 acres to his two sons, Nathaniel and Patrick. The Farley heirs showed up at the estate settlement thing in Wentworth and said, no, we didn't sell it all to them. And so they had a big court thing, and the court divided it up into something like 13 little segments, 2 great big ones and a bunch of smaller ones, and divided it up between the Farleys and the Henrys. The Henrys got the 2 big ones and 2 of the smaller ones, and the Farleys kept the other smaller ones. We were backwater. And when they developed Leakesville, it was the first town up the river from Danville, and the only town. There was nothing further west.
And when was that developed?
1795. Madison was later. They weren't there. The Moorheads family was the next big family to come in here, and they were buying lots for $1,000, and 5 years later were having trouble getting 50 cents for them. Because, it was the beginning were really rough. Boom, bust type thing was going on.